For years, Princess Anne stayed silent while royal drama unfolded around her. But now, the quietest Windsor has spoken, and her words have set fire to the firm. A leaked comment about Meghan Markle, sharp and unapologetic, reached Prince Harry across the ocean. And what followed wasn't diplomacy. It was fury. Sources say Harry lost it. An emotional storm years in the making finally exploded. With the monarchy already on edge, this moment may be the one that changes everything. What exactly did Anne say? Why did it cut so deep? And is there any turning back from here? The royal rumble begins. No one expected Princess Anne to speak. For years, she stayed silent while the rest of the royal family danced around the drama. But that silence broke, and it broke hard. A private comment made by Anne about Meghan Markle suddenly leaked into the press. And once it hit the headlines, there was no turning back. At first, the leak seemed vague, but within hours, exact wording spread across media outlets. Anne reportedly said Meghan was never a good fit, and everyone knew it from the start. One sentence, that's all it took. And the reaction was instant. Papers ran with it, broadcasts looped it, social media boiled over. Some called it honesty, others called it betrayal. But everyone agreed on one thing. This wasn't just a casual royal remark. This was a warning shot from one of the firm's most private players. Princess Anne rarely gets involved in family scandal. That's why this hit so hard. She's the no-nonsense one, the one who shows up, works quietly, and avoids the spotlight. So for her to say something, especially about Meghan, felt like a royal earthquake. People didn't just listen, they leaned in. If Anne was speaking now, then something serious must have cracked inside the royal circle. And everyone had the same question. How would Harry take it? Anne speaks out. It wasn't a press release or a televised interview. It started as a quote, reportedly shared during a private conversation. Someone overheard. Someone repeated it. And just like that, Anne's comment about Meghan slipped into the headlines like a knife. She never belonged here. We all saw it. That's what Anne reportedly said. There was no soft language, no polite dressing. It wasn't a joke or a passing comment. It felt pointed, final, and it shook people. Those words were shared at a royal event, a closed-door reception far from cameras. But nothing behind royal doors stays hidden for long. A journalist got wind of it, confirmed it through 2 sources, and the story exploded. The tone was cold, the implication harsh. Anne wasn't just critiquing Meghan's work ethic or public persona. She was dismissing her completely, as if Meghan never had a place at all. For a royal known for discipline and restraint, this wasn't normal behavior. Anne rarely comments on family drama. She's known for staying out of the mess. That's what made this so jarring. She knew what those words would do, and she said them anyway. Royal experts couldn't ignore it. This is different, one said on live TV. Anne doesn't talk unless it matters. And this clearly mattered. Harry hears the news. When Harry heard what Anne had said, it didn't come gently. He wasn't given a quiet briefing or a private heads-up. He saw it in the media. Scrolling, reading, staring. A royal relative, his own aunt, had said Meghan never belonged. And it hit him like a punch to the gut. At first he said nothing, but sources close to him told a different story. He lost it. one insider revealed. He shouted. He stormed out. He couldn't believe it. The words stung more than expected. And it wasn't just because of the insult. It was who it came from. Anne had always been seen as neutral. She wasn't warm, but she was steady. If anyone in the family still had Harry's respect, it was her. And now, that respect shattered in a second. There was anger, sure, but also sadness. This wasn't just a media hit. This was family breaking down in real time. Harry had been through public fights before. The Oprah interview, the memoir fallout, the endless headlines. But this was something new. This was personal, and people around him could feel the shift. He wasn't just angry. He was hurt, deeply. This wasn't just another headline. This was the crack that split something inside him. The breaking point. Harry's journey since stepping away from royal duties has been filled with conflict. But this moment felt different. Something snapped. Since Meghan, he's dealt with constant headlines, personal attacks, and painful public moments. From losing his royal patronages to being evicted from Frogmore Cottage, every step away from the palace felt like a push. And now this comment from Anne felt like a final shove. He once called the royal family the firm. But this felt more like a battlefield. The Oprah interview made waves. His book sent shockwaves. But Anne's words? They hit his heart. Because for Harry, this wasn't just about Meghan. It was about loyalty, family, being seen. And Anne, the one royal who rarely speaks, had taken a side. And it wasn't his. It stung. And it reminded him of something darker. The feeling that no matter what he did, no matter how loud he spoke, the palace would always close ranks against him and Meghan. He'd always said he left to protect his family. But now he was starting to see maybe he never had one to protect in the first place. This wasn't just about Anne. It was about everything. Years of pain bottled up. And this one moment, it uncorked it all. Harry's explosive reaction. When the full impact of Anne's comment hit, Harry didn't stay quiet. Insiders said the reaction behind the scenes was instant and intense. He reportedly yelled at staff, slammed a door, cut off a call mid-sentence. This wasn't strategic or measured. This was raw emotion, boiling over. And then came the silence. No post, no podcast, no formal statement, yet. But his team hinted something was coming. A clarifying message. Behind the scenes, calls were made. Discussions held. Meghan, too, was reportedly shaken but calm, advising Harry not to give them what they want. But Harry wasn't there yet. He was still in the storm. Compared to his usual calculated responses, this felt different. Unfiltered, emotional, personal. His past reactions, like during the Queen's funeral or his memoir tour, had moments of restraint. This one had none. Royal watchers noticed. "This is Harry's breaking point," one said on air. "You can feel it. He's not playing chess anymore. He's swinging." And the palace knew it too. Because when Harry finally speaks, the next chapter of this royal firestorm will begin. Palace pressure cooker. The palace was already walking a tightrope, but Anne's leaked comment, followed by Harry's explosive reaction, tipped the balance into chaos. Behind the scenes, staff scrambled, phones rang. Private meetings were scheduled with titles like urgent and fallout. Publicly, the royal family remained silent. But inside, the temperature was rising fast. Damage control began immediately. Press officers drafted possible responses. Advisors debated whether to address it directly or wait it out. But silence had become dangerous, and everyone knew it. This wasn't just a PR issue anymore. It was emotional, personal, unpredictable. Palace aides whispered that Anne wasn't surprised. She said what many in the family feel, one insider revealed. She's just the only one blunt enough to say it out loud. Anne reportedly told one senior figure, "I knew Meghan wouldn't last, and now the world sees why." That quote never went public, but it didn't need to. Her position was clear. Meanwhile, alliances were forming. William stood firmly on one side, Harry and Meghan on the other, and King Charles stuck in the middle. One palace insider said, "He's trying to keep the institution stable, but it's like patching a sinking ship with tape." Staff loyalty became a dividing line. Longtime courtiers stayed close to the senior royals. Younger aides whispered about modernizing, or at least surviving. But one thing became clear. The pressure inside the palace was reaching a dangerous high. Because the more silent the family remained, the louder the world outside became. Public, expert, and social media storm. The public reaction wasn't slow. It was immediate and explosive. British tabloids ran double-page spreads with Anne's quote in bold letters. U.S. outlets picked up the story within hours. TV panels lit up with royal watchers, body language experts, and psychologists analyzing every angle. And then came social media. Within minutes, hashtags like #EndsMeghan, #HarryBreaks, and Royal Rift Again trended worldwide. Clips from old interviews resurfaced. Side-by-side comparisons of Anne's silent years versus her sudden comment filled TikTok and YouTube. Memes went viral. Debates raged in every comment section. Some users backed Anne, praising her bluntness. Others defended Meghan, accusing the palace of never accepting her. And in the middle were those simply stunned by the breakdown of what used to be called the firm. Experts stepped in. "This is a turning point," said one former royal press secretary. "Anne breaking silence gives the public permission to pick sides." Another analyst added, "This is no longer family drama. It's cultural commentary." And conspiracy theories weren't far behind. Some speculated the leak was intentional, to protect the monarchy by isolating Meghan. Others suggested it was meant to provoke Harry into another public misstep. Whatever the theory, one thing was clear. This wasn't just gossip. It was a global event, and the storm was only getting stronger. Media echo chamber. The headlines didn't stop. They echoed like church bells, relentless and ringing across every platform. What started as one leaked quote from Princess Anne had now become a full-blown media obsession. Day after day, every outlet found a new way to twist it, reframe it, dramatize it. There was no pause button, only escalation. Anne's words were broken down word by word, analyzed for tone, intent, and emotional undercurrents. Was she being blunt, cold, honest, or calculated? Morning shows brought in body language experts who replayed clips from royal engagements, pointing to side glances and closed-off stances as signs of long-standing tension. "She never looked at Meghan the way she did at Kate," one expert said, while another declared, "This rift didn't start yesterday." Evening news didn't offer escape. Instead, they turned it into panel debates. Psychologists, royal historians, PR specialists, each one offered a new theory. Some said it was a power struggle. Others framed it as a generational clash. And then came the social commentary. Was this a sign of deeper cultural resistance within the monarchy? And then YouTube lit up. Creators who specialized in royal drama doubled their output. Titles like, "Did Anne just end Meghan?" and "Harry's Royal Rage Caught on Camera" dominated trending pages. Thumbnails showed exaggerated reactions, flame emojis, and grainy freeze frames of Meghan looking shocked. The drama fed the algorithm, and the algorithm feasted. Talk shows jumped in. Daytime hosts turned the saga into punchlines and panel arguments. One even joked, "The palace needs a family therapist before they need a PR team." But behind the laughs was something darker. Pain being packaged and sold, all for views and ratings. Podcasts followed closely. Royal-themed shows saw their numbers spike overnight. They ran multi-part episodes titled things like "The Anne Fallout" and "Inside Harry's Breaking Point." Guests ranged from former staff to anonymous insiders, each offering just enough mystery to keep the narrative spinning. And it wasn't just digital platforms. Netflix producers were reportedly revisiting scripts for upcoming royal docuseries. Editors combed through old footage, searching for missed signals. Streaming giants sensed another wave of interest, another chapter to sell. The Anne-Meghan fallout had officially become content. Every eye roll, every headline, every awkward family photo became a story of its own. Even minor palace appearances were picked apart. Was Charles looking tired? Was William avoiding questions? Was Kate's smile too forced? The public was hooked. And the media? It wasn't just reporting the story. It was feeding it, fueling it, reshaping it with every new angle. No one was stepping away. Not the press, not the creators, not the audience, and definitely not the palace. Because in today's world, royal drama doesn't fade quietly. It loops, it lives, it lingers, and in the echo chamber, it only gets louder. Meghan's move. While the world buzzed with opinions, Meghan Markle stayed silent, at least publicly. There was no official statement, no fiery Instagram post, no podcast response. But behind the scenes, she wasn't just sitting still. Sources close to Meghan said she was deeply hurt. Not surprised, but wounded. She expected shade, one friend said, but not from Anne. Meghan had often spoken of how hard it was to fit in. Anne's comment, so blunt and dismissive, hit the very heart of that pain. Still, Meghan knew the game. She'd played it before, and this time, she didn't want to give the press the reaction they were waiting for. Instead, she leaned on strategy, subtle moves, a quiet resharing of an old quote on her lifestyle brand's page. "You do not have to attend every battle you're invited to." Fans instantly linked it to Anne. The post didn't mention her, but it didn't need to. Supporters praised the restraint. Critics called it calculated. But one thing was clear. Meghan was stepping carefully. Whether she was planning a comeback interview or laying low, no one could tell. But every move was watched. And while the press begged for her voice, Meghan's silence spoke volumes. Harry speaks publicly. After days of silence, tension, and mounting speculation, Harry finally stepped forward, and he didn't hold back. It wasn't a grand televised interview, no Buckingham backdrop, no formal announcement. Instead, it arrived quietly, tucked inside a new episode of his podcast. No build-up, no warning, just Harry's voice, steady but heavy. And within minutes, it became clear. He wasn't there to play politics. He was there to bleed. "When family becomes your wound," he said, "what are you supposed to do? Bandage it in silence?" His words cut deeper than any headline. He didn't name Princess Anne, but the message rang loud. "Some voices in the family believe exclusion is tradition," he said, "but that doesn't make it right." The pain in his tone was unmistakable. Exhaustion coated every sentence. He sounded like a man who had held his tongue long enough and finally let it go. He spoke of Meghan, how she had endured criticism, headlines, and whispers, often without a single voice defending her from within the family. He described the loneliness they felt, the coldness, the betrayal. "We didn't walk away," he clarified. "We were shown the door." He didn't yell, he didn't curse, but the calm was laced with fire. It wasn't rage, it was heartbreak. And perhaps that's what hit the hardest. Listeners were stunned. Within minutes of release, clips spread like wildfire. News anchors played sound bites. Twitter exploded with reactions. Some praised his raw honesty. Others accused him of stoking the flames again. But love him or hate him, Harry had done something the monarchy rarely allows. He had spoken from the soul. Even palace sources admitted it caught them off guard. "We didn't think he'd speak this soon, or this directly," one insider confessed. The podcast hadn't been approved. It hadn't been reviewed. This wasn't a palace-crafted message. It was his, unfiltered. Behind the scenes, it sent shockwaves. Aides rushed to assess the damage. Should the palace respond? Should Anne clarify her words? Would silence be seen as strength or guilt? But outside, in the real world, the public had already made up their minds. Some stood firmly with Harry, saying it was about time someone peeled back the royal mask. Others criticized the move, calling it emotional blackmail in audio form. But no one ignored it. This wasn't just a podcast. It was a declaration. And now the royal family had a choice to make: speak back, or continue to let silence speak for them. Because Harry had opened the door, and once it's open, the truth has a way of rushing in. Royal family ripples. As Harry's podcast echoed across the media, the royal family's silence became even louder and heavier. Behind palace walls, tension hit a new high. King Charles, caught between his sister and his son, was said to be visibly shaken by the fallout. According to insiders, he met with top advisors within 24 hours of the podcast release. The goal wasn't to fix the problem, it was to contain it. William, meanwhile, was reportedly furious. Not just about Harry's words, but about the fact that Anne was now involved. For years, she had remained the steady one, the unshakable royal. Her comment had opened a door that the family was desperate to keep shut. But Anne didn't seem fazed. Sources close to her said she stood by what she said. "She didn't say it to hurt Harry," one aide noted. "She said it because she believed it." That made it worse, because now it wasn't just one family member acting out. It was a philosophical divide. Some royals felt the institution must evolve, modernize, show compassion. Others still believed in the old ways: discipline, silence, loyalty to the crown above all. And Anne? She represented the old guard more than anyone. The family was fracturing, not from scandal, but from ideology. Other royals stayed quiet, but not idle. Camilla reportedly encouraged Charles to issue a unifying message. Kate, though out of the spotlight, was said to be deeply concerned about William's growing anger. And younger royals? They watched from the sidelines, learning that loyalty often meant choosing sides. The palace faced a choice: close ranks or call for peace. But either path risked more damage. Because one truth had become clear. This wasn't just about Harry and Meghan anymore. It was about what the royal family would choose to be next. Wider implications. Outside the palace gates, the drama had become something bigger than just a family feud. It was a global conversation now, about power, emotion, and tradition colliding in the public eye. Talk shows debated the ethics of royal openness. Should family pain be aired for public consumption? Or had the monarchy earned this scrutiny by being silent for too long? Opinions clashed. But one thing united the public. Everyone was watching. For younger generations, Harry represented a break from old rules. His pain was relatable. His fight for Meghan felt like a stand against outdated systems. But for others, Anne's bluntness was refreshing, real, honest in a way that royal PR usually avoids. Experts warned the monarchy was now in uncharted waters. No longer just ceremonial, the royals had become emotional figures in a media-driven age. And that shift came with new risks. There were questions about legacy, about mental health, about race, about gender roles within an institution that had resisted modernity for centuries. The Anne-Harry moment wasn't just a family blow-up. It was a mirror reflecting the monarchy's struggle to stay relevant. This scandal sparked a bigger dialogue. What do we expect from royalty? And more importantly, what are they willing to give? Because the public no longer wants mystery. They want meaning, and the crown is being forced to choose between them. The cliffhanger. Just when it seemed like the storm might settle, new whispers surfaced, and they were louder than before. Insiders said Harry was considering another sit-down interview, a full, televised one, the kind that could either heal old wounds or split them wide open. Meghan, reportedly, was hesitant. She wanted peace. But Harry? Still reeling from Anne's words, wasn't done speaking. Meanwhile, palace aides hinted Anne might clarify her comment. Not to apologize, but to reframe. She may address it on her own terms, said one source. Anne doesn't retreat. She doubles down. Tensions were rising again. But this time, the battlefield wasn't just the press. It was the public's heart. Who would they believe? Who would they blame? And more importantly, who would speak next? There were rumors of a secret meeting between Charles and Harry, a possible reconciliation behind closed doors. But then again, the palace had denied that before. Meghan's silence still held power. But even silence has a limit. And if she were to respond, it could tip the entire royal dynamic yet again. The truth is, no one knows what comes next. Will Harry escalate? Will Anne hold firm? Will the monarchy pull together or fracture for good? Because this isn't just family drama anymore. This is more than words. It's a storm that could remake the monarchy forever. This wasn't just another royal comment. It was the spark that lit a fuse. Harry's reaction shook the palace. Anne's words drew a line in the sand. And now, with silence broken and loyalties questioned, the royal family stands at a crossroads. The next move could reshape everything. Stay tuned.